Their common name evokes images of exotic destinations and libations. Tequila shots with lime and salt, sweet agave nectar drizzling over Aztec desserts, spiky blue plants blanketing sun-baked Mexican hillsides. But North America claims agaves as native sons too, American-born and bred. These iconic desert dwellers have sustained indigenous peoples from California to Texas for thousands of years. This is the story of the agaves, ancient Mexican immigrants whose nobility and utility sculpt the arid American wilderness even today. They go by many names: century plants, mezcal, or maguey. But to botanists, these distinctive desert dwellers are known as agaves. Welcome to another episode of the Southwest Desert. I am your desert frontiersman, Alan, here to take you on another Southwest journey. If you enjoy this, leave a like or comment. For future adventures, hit the subscribe button. Agaves are found primarily in mountainous, arid habitats, thriving on rocky slopes and ridges. For most of their lives, agaves simply grow, storing up energy for the final flowering that marks the end of their lifespan. After 2 or 3 decades of growth, agaves rush into bloom with astonishing speed before producing seeds and offspring shoots, completing their life cycle. Some smaller Arizona agave species are exceptions, often surviving after flowering, and cultivated agaves can be saved by cutting off the flower stalk once it emerges. But in the wild, most agave species conform to the boom and bust pattern that gives them their nickname, the century plant. Primitive indigenous peoples discovered countless uses for these versatile plants. Agave fibers pulled from soaked leaves could be spun into cords, ropes, fishing lines, nets, sandals, and more. The leaves themselves were handy for weaving and basketry. Even the roots made a soap-like lather in water. And the tender young flower stalk was a particular seasonal delicacy, roasted in earth ovens for festive feasts. Remnants of these celebrations mark ancient cooking sites to this day. While agaves typically bloom in springtime, Lieutenant W. H. Emery recorded finding a flowering specimen in November 1846. His diary from the Kearney expedition to California describes fields of Agave deserti with an occasional individual in full flower, annoying soldiers with its sharp leaf tips as they marched past. Some of the men even sliced off parts of the fleshy stalk to eat. Some tribes may have even ground the black seeds into flour to supplement mesquite meal. In addition to food, agave stalks were sometimes incorporated into primitive structure frames by Indians. Their pithy stalks offered a light but strong building material. Many species grace the desert landscapes of the Southwest. One of the most northerly distributed is Agave utahensis. It thrives in Arizona's Grand Canyon region, northeastern Mojave ranges like the Clark Mountain, throughout southwestern Nevada, and into Utah. Recognizable by its compact tuft of blue-gray leaves, each dagger-tipped with wicked marginal hooks, utahensis sends up slender flower spikes 4 to 10 feet tall. Hundreds of petite, pale yellow blossoms dangle in small clusters along its branching heights. The spectacular Agave deserti forms huge colonies of fat leaves across boulder-strewn slopes in California's Colorado Desert. Dense stands crowd arid foothills and lower mountain elevations. Heavy buds swell at the base through winter and spring until enormous flowering spikes burst forth, rocketing 8 to 21 feet skyward almost overnight. There, the candelabra-like branches bend under the weight of brilliant golden flower clusters, saturated with nectar. The sweet bloom attracts swarms of pollinators great and small. In San Diego and Baja's desert mountains, a very similar species grows, Agave consociata. It mirrors the desert tie's habits and habitats so closely that distinguishing between the two challenges most amateurs. Consociata's thinner flowering spikes and uniquely tapered ovaries offer subtle clues to its identification. Santa Catalina's mountains in Arizona host lush stands of agave shoti. Its pale blue-gray leaves shred into curled fibers along gently toothed margins. Slender yellow blossoms dangle from 4 to 6 foot tall spikes, scenting the air. And like most agaves, shoti dies after its single magnificent reproductive effort. New Mexico and Arizona are also home to Agave palmeri, named for the accomplished 19th-century botanist Edward Palmer. Stout flowerscapes display large, creamy blossoms marked by a prominent inflated ovary below. Its stiff blue-green leaves can spread nearly 3 feet, lined with slender, red-tipped marginal teeth. Several palmeri's close cousins have more limited habitats, like the broad, smooth-leaved Agave cuesi, thriving in a few Arizona mountain ranges, and the hardy Agave parviflora gratifies gardeners with compact rosettes of deep green, highlighted by large purplish flower clusters. Agave diversity continues southward into Mexico, the origin of the huge familiar Agave americana. That iconic century plant's name betrays its New World genesis. Today it's cultivated worldwide for ornamental and tequila production purposes. Researchers recognize over 200 agave species across the Americas, from dainty miniatures to massive landscape specimens. These succulents have captivated appreciative observers for millennia with their geometric forms and architectural inflorescences. Agaves offer sustenance, shelter, and fiber to desert dwellers of all ethnicities. Their nobility and utility continue undiminished after centuries of human habitation amidst the arid lands they adorn. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Southwest. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like or comment. I would enjoy your feedback. To join on more journeys, hit the subscribe button. Happy trails!